an informal visit with the family of Senator John F. Kennedy. This morning, we shall meet Senator Kennedy, his mother, Mrs. Joseph P. Kennedy, his wife, Jacqueline, his sister Eunice, now Mrs. Sergeant Shriver, and his sister Jean, now Mrs. Stephen Smith, with Steve Jr. If you would like to ask Senator Kennedy any questions regarding his work in the Senate, you will have an opportunity to telephone later in the program. Right now, Mrs. Joseph P. Kennedy.
Good morning, friends. 6 years ago, when my son Jack was a candidate for the Senate, we had this little half hour on television. Many of you, most of you I think, seem to have enjoyed it. And so we arranged to have it again this year. Of course, there have been a great many changes in the family. The girls who helped so much before have been married and have children of their own. And so they have not been able to help Jack as much. But we have a charming addition in the person of Jacqueline, Jack's wife, who has been campaigning with him during the last few months, and whom I know many of you have met. Won't you tell us, Jacqueline, a little about your experiences?
I've enjoyed campaigning so much, Mrs. Kennedy. Since September 15th, Jack and I have been traveling through the state trying to meet as many people as we can. Your youngest son, Teddy, who, as you know, is campaign manager, set up the schedule for us last summer, and now he joins us whenever he can get away from law school on weekends. We visited 184 communities, and I think slept in nearly every city in Massachusetts, and we must have shaken hands with nearly everyone in Massachusetts, too.
Well, congratulations, Jackie, and congratulations to Jack that he found a wife who has so enjoyed the campaign. Of course, with us it was a little different because we were born into a political atmosphere, but with you it was quite a new experience.
I know. Jack has been ungallant enough to say in speeches that you've been campaigning for 65 years. I realize, of course, that he refers to Grandpa Fitzgerald carrying you around in his arms when he was mayor and you were a tiny baby.
Well, that is not quite true, because in those days, of course, the women did not have the vote, and so we did not go to the rallies and teas that you have been going.
Even so, I'm surprised that Jack hasn't insisted on taking Caroline on this trip. She's back in Boston with us now, but she was very lucky during the early part of our tour to be with you at the Cape.
We certainly loved having her. And now, speaking about the Cape, Jean, how did it go this summer?
I was with my mother. Bobby was there with his 6 children, and Eunice was there with him too, and Jackie with Caroline. And of course I was there with Steve, so it was great fun, all next door to each other.
Oh, what did you do, Eunice?
Well, the children learned to ride, and they learned to swim, and Bobby took them out to sail. We had 9 of them down there between the ages of 1 and 7, and he fell in the first day he was teaching them, so they learned to sail very quickly.
Tell me, did you get a chance to go up to Plymouth at all?
But they're a little young, I think.
Yes, I suppose so. But I do hope as they get older you will take them up there and to Provincetown, because I think it's so good for them to get used to going to those things and get interested in things of historical nature while they are young, because then as they get older, they will foster that interest and be very much inspired by the great deeds of the men who have gone before them. I think Massachusetts, of course, is a particularly attractive state from that point of view, because we are replete with all sorts of mementos and monuments that are associated with the glorious past of which we can all be proud. I am so delighted when I can say that Jack is the United States Senator for Massachusetts, because everybody knows what a wonderful heritage we have here. So do take the children around and see that they see all those things, and probably someday I hope they will emulate some of the great men who have gone before them, either in this state or in one of the other states. Now, talking about children, I think we have some pictures of the other grandchildren, which I hope the audience will enjoy.
There are Bobby and Maria. Bobby's age 4 out of Chicago, and that's Maria, whose birthday is tomorrow. She'll be 3 years old. And we're getting ready to go on a picnic. We live right opposite the big park out there, so it's almost like having a big lawn in front of your house.
What are you going to eat in that picnic?
Cornflakes, cold milk, and honey for me, and Bobby is here. He's very boisterous. Just learning to play football. We have 2 children. My brother Bobby's got 4, but everyone tells me mine are brighter and cleverer and happier and stronger, so I think that makes up for it.
Remember that Bobby may be listening to this program. May get. He's sure to get report.
Here we are in the big Lincoln Park Zoo, feeding the bears. There's an elephant right to the right there, but I hope they won't show that. Here they are.
Really wild horses.
Wild horses.
Very graceful, Maria.
She loves horses. Here we are on the picnic in the park, Sunday afternoon.
You've been in Chicago, of course, ever since you've been married.
She is, yes.
And I know you like it so much out there.
The sugar candy that...
Were they strict after they ate that?
No, I think they did very well. They ate all the nuts that were supposed to be for the elephants, but they did very well. Just really. Sergeant is president of the Board of Education in Chicago, so he's very much interested in teaching Bobby and Maria. They don't go to kindergarten yet. He teaches them in the evenings after supper. Things that they're supposed to learn in kindergarten.
And this is Bobby's house in McLean, Virginia. And here's Bobby showing us some pictures of autographs that he's been collecting for a number of years of former presidents. And I think this one is John Hancock. He was not a president. And now he's going into the house. And that's his wife Ethel and their oldest daughter Kathleen, who's 7 now. And I think she's going to hear the rest of the children out in the lawn. Courtney's in front. She's the second to youngest. And one of their dogs.
There are 6, aren't there?
Yes.
Units
There's Megan.
4, I suppose.
Terrible dog.
Saint Bernard.
Saint Bernard. That's good.
How many dogs do they have? That's 6 dogs.
7 dogs, 8 birds, 10 rabbits. And Ethel's holding Michael, the youngest, who's about 6 months. And there's Courtney. And next to her is David, and Bobby, and Joe, whose name is our brother Joe, killed in the war, and Kathleen. Bobby's castles in St. Augustine.
There is Peter Lawford with his children and Pat on the beach at Santa Monica, where they live in California. There's Christopher, who's 4, and Sydney, who's 2. And they're playing with their father. Guess they're going swimming. And here they are with Pat inside the house. And they're building blocks. Their father's teaching them too. Christopher's very dark, as you can see, and Sydney's very blonde. And Sydney's my godchild. I'm very proud of her. think they're brighter than your children, Eunice, at their lessons?
I must say, they're showing great aptitude there.
Now she's going to knock it all over, I'm sure.
Play down, maybe.
Seems rather worried.
It goes to kindergarten, doesn't it? It goes to kindergarten.
So nice for children growing up in time.
Oh
dear, what's going to happen?
They fight?
That brings them Eastern home. I understand the organ. Too bad we can't hear it.
What kind of an organ is it? Like an old-fashioned
Barrel organ, I suppose. There's Christopher. He looks like his father.
Have you been on any of these TV shows now? Think it's been them?
I don't think so. Cindy should be though.
Shouldn't it?
I'm shy.
darling shot.
The Norfolk at home. Peter Norfolk and their two children, Christopher and Sydney.
Well, I think the pictures of all the family were very good. I'm just sorry that Pat couldn't have come, or that Bobby couldn't have come with all of his children. But I want to thank all of you for being here and coming from the far parts of the country to assist us during the last week of this campaign. And good morning, all you ladies who may be there. I'm very happy that you could be with us at home with all of my family this morning. If you would like to call with any questions about my record in the Senate or my stand on any issue, please call me right now at Stadium 2-0270 or Stadium 2-0271 or 0272. Jackie, Jean, and Eunice will act as my operators and give your calls to me. Before I go to the phones, I want to say just a word about this election on November 4th. One of the most difficult things an office holder has to do, in my opinion, is to ask people to vote for him. It isn't easy to make a lot of statements about my record or a lot of promises about the future, but let me say this. In the last month, Jackie and I have been in every corner of Massachusetts. And for the last 6 years, I have been directly or indirectly in touch with practically every citizen in the state. I think I know the people of Massachusetts pretty well, and I think they know me. I think you know what I stand for, what I am trying to do for our state, and how I believe a public office such as United States Senator should be filled. So without, I hope, being too presumptuous or taking too much for granted, my biggest concern now is that you go to the polls on November 4th. In times such as these, when the right to vote, the right of free elections, is under assault all over the world, I really don't see how anyone can stay at home on Election Day. Never think that your vote is not needed or is unimportant. Never be able to say on November 5th, the day after election, that you forgot to vote or that it was too much trouble. Whatever trouble it may be, whatever party you may belong to, I hope you will go to the polls on November 4th and cast your ballot. If you believe in what I've been trying to do, if you believe in our program to strengthen Massachusetts and the nation, I hope you will find it possible to cast a vote, for which I will be very grateful. I see that the girls have taken some calls, so I will get right to them. First question is, are we stronger than Russia? I think that strength is made up of many ingredients. We're economically stronger. We're politically stronger. I think that our greatest phase of weakness is perhaps in long-range ballistic missiles, where they have had a lead over us. I think it's going to take a concentrated effort during the next 2 or 3 years for us to catch up. I believe that effort should be made. I've supported a stronger defense in the past and will in the future. This question is, my husband's unemployment compensation check is too small, and he hopes for an increase. Well, it is a fact that the average unemployment check for one of our unemployed workers in this country is $31 a week. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics has shown that it costs a single person to live in one of our cities on a survival basis $52 a week. So I offered in the Senate and Congressman McCormick in the House a bill which would have provided in May for a federal minimum standard for unemployment compensation. It would have meant that an unemployed worker honestly seeking a job would have received compensation equal to 50% of his wage, up to 2/3 of the average wage in the state for a period of 39 weeks. I hope we can get it through in the next Congress. I think your wife will make a better senator than you. What do you think? I agree with her. In any case, I have the benefit of her advice, so maybe I'll improve. Is my boy going to be able to get into college? Well, it is a serious problem. In the next 13 years, by 1970, in other words, we're going to have, in place of the 3 million boys and girls getting into college this year, we're going to have 6 million. In the state of Massachusetts, instead of about 123,000, we're going to have about 270,000. That means we're going to have to double our facilities. Now, in our private universities, I would hope, and I say this as an overseer of Harvard University, that we would be able to get more assistance from private endowments, from business groups, and others. But in addition, the federal government can play a role. In the last housing bill, which was defeated by 3 votes in the House, it provided, in addition to loans for the construction of college dormitories, it also provided for loans for the construction of classrooms. And then I think the state has a major role to play to develop the state university. I think it's going to require a concentrated attack because we need the best educated citizenry that we have, that we can find, and I don't think any boy or girl who is talented should be denied the right to go to college. Did the McClellan Committee investigations accomplish anything? Well, I was on the McClellan Committee. My brother was a member as well as being on the Permanent Labor Committee, and I think the committee did accomplish something. It did bring to light the problem of the infiltration of racketeers into the labor management picture and the use of unions for the advantage of these racketeers and the infiltration into business of corrupt people who had nothing in common with the labor movement or with responsible business. We brought it out. The Kennedy Ives Labor Reform Bill, which was written by Senator Ives of New York, a Republican, and by me as a Democrat, which was to carry out the recommendations legislatively of the McClellan Committee, passed the Senate by a vote of 88 to 1. It was defeated in the House 198 to 190. I can assure you that we're going to start again next January because I think responsible legislation is supported by honest labor and management alike. If I write you a letter in Washington, will you answer? Well, I can assure you that we will. I won't be able to do it for the next few days, but after an election, I certainly would look forward to hearing from you, and I really mean that because the more information we get from our people back home, the more we know how they feel and what the problems are, and the better we're able to represent you in Washington. So I would hope that not only will you get an answer, but I would like to hear from you.
All right.
Can we stop the rise in the cost of living? Well, the rise has been going up steadily. It stopped in September, and there's been a stretch out since then. But it did go up 3 or 4% in the 7 months preceding. It's difficult in a free society where everyone can go their own direction to have the complete control over the cost of living. But there are several things that can be done. In the first place, the Federal Reserve Board can administer the credit supply of this government in a way which will restrict inflationary pressures. We can make sure that we do not spend too much in government, that we don't have deficit financing, which is a stimulation to inflation and to higher prices. We can make sure that those prices which are controlled, such as natural gas and the basic commodities and public utilities here in a state like Massachusetts, that they're administered fairly and well, and in a whole variety of ways do our best to attack this problem, which I think is a terribly difficult one, particularly for those people living on fixed income and on retirement, to find that their retirement check every month is becoming worth less and less. I think it's a number one problem, and I hope that we can take more effective action in the coming months and years. If you are a Democrat, why is my boyfriend a Republican supporting you? Well, I don't know unless you've talked him into it. But in any case, I hope that every citizen of Massachusetts regardless of their party, if they can, will support me, and if they cannot, of course, that they will support my opponent. In any case, I do hope, as I said before, that they will come to the polls and vote, and I'm glad to hear that we're getting that in this case a Republican is supporting us, because I think I've attempted to represent all the people of this state in Washington in a responsible way. Final question of this series is, what are you doing for the fishing industry? Well, the fishing industry has been one of the industries hard hit by excessive imports. And in 1954, the Congress passed the so-called Saltonstall-Kennedy Act, which was sponsored by both senators from Massachusetts. This provides that the duty collected on the importation of foreign fish, instead of going as it used to go to the Department of Agriculture for the support of perishable vegetables, now goes to the fishing industry for research. We send a ship out, the Albatross III, which goes out and does research on how to pack fish and how to freeze it better and find new fishing grounds. And in other words, help by research the fishing industry to develop its resources. In addition, Senator Saltonstall and I have introduced a bill this year which came out of the Senate committee and which I hope will pass next year, which will be of more direct assistance to the fishing industry, provide a revolving fund for the purchase of new vessels, and provide other protections for the fishing industry, which are greatly needed. Without a strong fishing industry, we don't have a strong economy here in the state of Massachusetts. Do you think that our light bill is too high? Well, the regulation of lights and the price of those commodities comes under the State Commission, and I think that they're best equipped to deal with that problem, because it doesn't come under the federal government, and I really haven't got information on it to give you a really intelligent answer. How many babies did you kiss in this campaign? Well, I didn't kiss enough, I guess, but I did manage to. There didn't seem to be much desire on their part, but in any case, we saw a lot of mothers whose hands we shook in. I'm a high school student. How can I get into politics? Well, as it's now 10:20 a.m., I'm hopeful that you're going to go to school today, as it is a weekday. But I do hope that all boys and girls, even if they're not old enough to vote, will participate in these campaigns. There's a campaign on this year. There's going to be one in 1960, and I hope that they will go to the party headquarters that they believe in, or go to the headquarters of various candidates who they like, and volunteer their help. All the jobs that need to be done in a campaign can be done regardless of what age you are. We have a lady in our headquarters who's writing cards for us every evening at 150 Tremont Street who's 90. And then we have a lot of girls who come in from high school and boys who are helping us distribute literature, so that whatever age you may be, you can meet your responsibilities as a citizen, and I hope that you will in this campaign and in other campaigns to follow. What is your stand on civil rights? Well, I support legislation to make sure that every one of our citizens and their children are guaranteed equal rights. And I've supported all civil rights legislation in the 12 years that I've been in Congress. We want to make sure that every boy and girl, whatever color, whatever race or creed, are given an equal opportunity to develop their own resources and talents. And I think that that must be done in a country which is a free country. We don't say that everyone will be able to have equal talents, but at least they ought to be able to develop what talents they have equally. And that's the essence of this system of government. And I believe in it strongly and will continue to work for it in the United States Senate. Do you think we have enough Social Security? Well, quite obviously, our Social Security payments have not kept up with the cost of living about which we were talking earlier. In the last Congress, we attempted to increase them 10%. We were not successful when they did go up 7%. But the cost of living during that same period had gone up nearly 8%. Now, the cost of living will be up again, unfortunately, probably by January or February, and I'm hopeful that we can meet that problem again. I think that the fund is sufficiently strong, certainly, to provide for benefits up to the 10% which I mentioned. How is your health? Well, it's fine. I had a bad year back in '54 as a result of an injury I sustained in the Navy, but I've been fine ever since, and I appreciate the interest. The Navy get around very good. Can anything be done about those airline crashes in New England? Well, one of the problems have been, of course, is that we have bad weather on the coast, and that we have fog and a good deal worse conditions than they have in other sections of the country. we're only, the CAA puts in safety facilities of a particular kind only when you have 20,000 flights a year, and some of our airports, such as New Bedford and Nantucket, have less than that. So we've been working with the CAA in an attempt to get an amendment to their provisions in order to provide that when you have a percentage of flights in a concentrated period of time with particularly bad weather, you will get these facilities. We really need them, and we're going to get them. Do you think we're headed for war? Well, the issue of war and peace is really in the hands of the enemy, the Red Chinese and the Russians, but if we're strong and determined, and we indicate that we're going to meet our commitment, then I think that the peace can be held. That's my hope, and I think that the chief threat is going to be indirect subversion instead of outright military action, though, as I have said, it has to be in the hands of the Red Chinese and the Soviet Union. How many more children do you want to have? Well, I'd like to have all that we could have, and having seen my brothers have 6 children in 7 years, I'm hopeful that we will, I don't know if we'll meet his mark, but we'd like to try. I understand that you're a shoo-in to win, so why should I bother to vote for you? Well, I'm not a shoo-in. As of today, I have no votes, and I won't have any votes until election morning when the polls open. So that I'd like to win, and I'd like to win as well as I could. I think it helps those of us who speak for Massachusetts if the people in Washington know that we have the support of the people in our state. And so that I'm hopeful that all of you, as I said before, will go and vote. We need all the votes we can get. We won't have anybody's vote, as I said, when election starts. And if the people don't vote in the 12 hours that the polls are open, then we can't win. But if you all go and vote, see if we can get our friends to vote, then I think we do have a good chance to win, and I think it's going to make it easier for us to speak with more strength and vigor in the Senate if people realize that the people of Massachusetts have given me their support. So that I guess this is about all the questions that we have time for. I'm very grateful to you for having come this morning and having the coffee hours. We're going to be sending a lot of younger people around to your homes during this week with distributing a magazine, or really a tabloid, which has some of the things that we've done. I hope you'll have a chance to say hello to them. And I want to thank my mother and all my sisters for coming once again to help me in a campaign. And now I'd like to have you come over and meet what I hope is our greatest rooter, but is our greatest campaign worker in the future, our daughter Caroline. Caroline, why don't you come over here and see what's going on? I think this is the first time that she's been on television, but I hope that by the next campaign she'll be 7 years old. We can put her out to work more actively. We want to thank you again for coming. She's the youngest member of our family, but I'm grateful to her and to my wife Jackie and to all my sisters, as I've said, and to my mother especially. As it was said, she started campaigning for my grandfather Fitzgerald when he was mayor in 1908, and she's been working for either her father, her father, my grandfather, or my father, or for me for the last half century. So we're very grateful, and we're fortunate to have her help, and we're fortunate to have Caroline, who's now 11 months and will be a year old November 28th.
Election Day is just 1 week away. Next Tuesday, exercise your right to vote and re-elect Senator John F. Kennedy, United States Senator.